Then look now at the, we look now at the final area of the language paper at A grade level. So hopefully we're looking in the, I should really be calling this the mark band 4 level. So forgive me for that, as I've been referring the A grade the whole way through. But so because obviously we can get a range of grades here. We can get the A, we can get the A star. So let's see what we actually get. Again, our question is the same. We're looking at language, and remember, we always got to remember that these kind of key elements are always going to be the same. Okay, always in question 4, you're always going to be analysing language, and you're always going to be starting in the same way. And credit to AQA for doing that. It kind of helps students be a lot more assured in going into the exam, because they know exactly what's going to come up. So great. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to offer a full and detailed understanding of the text in relation to language. So that basically means we understand all, or we pick up things from all of the text and show how language is used all the way through the text, especially if it changes or the uses change, etc., etc. Analyze how the writers have used language differently to achieve their effects. So we have to be able to show differences in the way that writers have used the language across the two texts. Offers appropriate quotations or references in support of the ideas with perceptive comments. Perceptive, obviously, like we've said, is very detailed. You're just taking it further than people normally would. And appropriate quotations mean you're picking out the best ones in this one, or at least ones that are very, very relevant. Focuses on comparison. So here, look, focuses on comparison. This one's like offers clear, attempts to, shows limited. So this is focuses on comparison. So you have to compare a lot to get an A star. And in the C grade one, if you did watch that, you'll see that we did the classic idea of talk about one, then talk about the other and say how it's similar or different. This one should really be trying to, as I said, I wrote these a few days ago, and then I thought I'd come back to them with fresh eyes, so I can be a bit more critical about it. So hopefully this one will tennis along. I hope that's what I've done, otherwise I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here. So yeah, focus on comparison and cross-reference in between the text. So I'm going to be picking things out from text several times. So let's see where I get to and what grade this might come up as. Source 2 and 3 use language for Source 2 and 3 use language for very different reasons and have very different tones, even though they sometimes employ the same styles of writing. That's a fair enough introduction. The first piece is a humorous and uplifting recount of a man's unique journey across the English Channel in a balloon-based vehicle, while the second is a tense and fraught retelling of a terrible episode at sea. Okay, absolutely no marks for that, because it's not answering the question. But what it does do, because remember this is an essay now, it kind of sets me up. The examiner knows exactly what I'm going to get. We don't need to go into a whole load of detail, but in there, I've actually talked about the styles of writing, etc., and touched upon what I think overall is going to come. So in your introduction, remember, you're not going to try it, especially if you do one for this. You're not going to get marks, but you are setting yourself up to write a clearer essay. So let's see how we go. And just before we go into the meat of the essay, actually, I'll see how long this is, and then see what we're looking at. So here we're looking at 530 words. So yeah, it's about a page and 3/4. So that might even be a little short for an A, really an A star one. Yeah, actually it might be, because I'll be looking more for about 2 pages. But anyway, let's see how we get on. As both are describing journeys, they both use dramatic language to heighten the tension of the situations they are in. Source 2 sees Mr. Trapp strapped in his chair, giving us the idea of a flight procedure without the plane, highlighting how dangerous his adventure is, but we are told of the safety measures taken that he concludes his journey safely. Dramatic language is far more evident in Source 3, where Claire Francis deals with the ghastly moment of silence, which gives us the feel of utter dread as something terrible is about to befall her. So that's quite clear. Done the cross-referencing is good, but so I think I've actually missed, I've missed the quotation here, because obviously that would have been obviously I have to look at that. But you see here the detailing isn't actually very good now that I'm looking back on it. Source 2 sees Mr. Trapp strapped in his chair, giving the idea of a flight procedure without the plane, highlighting how dangerous his adventure is. That's clear and relevant, but that's not detailed and perceptive. But we are told the safety measures are taken and that he concludes his journey safely. So there I've cross-referenced within my own text to actually support that. So that's fair enough. That's a little more perceptive, but that doesn't really answer the question. And the second, dramatic language is far more evident in Source 3. Good comparison there, where Claire Francis deals with a ghastly moment of silence, which gives us the feeling of utter dread. So we've actually picked up exactly how it makes us feel, as something terrible is about to befall her. So I wouldn't actually say that first one was up in the A grade category at all. Let's see if it gets stronger. Warm evocative language is also used in Source 2, when we're told of the exceptional, quiet, peaceful and beautiful experience. The language here is creating a heightened sense of serenity, allowing us to imagine the journey with wonder. That's nice. Evocative language. So what's nice about that basically is that it's a full explanation, and it's the way it's an original, and it's quite a mature way of actually accounting for everything that was in there. So language here is creating a heightened sense of serenity. So that's an intelligent or a perceptive sentence, because obviously we can imagine being up there and being serene, allowing us to imagine the journey with wonder. So it's not just imagining the journey, but obviously with the feeling of which we can actually look back on it. So that's a little close to perceptive. That might be squeezing into 13 there. Evocative language is also used in source 3, but builds a sense of doom. Good. Francis explains the boat would leap, then crash down on the other side. This is a powerful scene. We imagine a heaving ship being tossed around by the winds, and then within that fully understand how she's tossed around like an item in a washing machine. So the actual analysis of the language is good, but you can see here I've just kind of pulled out of the full effect, just kind of said one thing. I presume if I was really going to be perceptive with it, I should actually continue that, make a couple of points like I've done here, where I actually said that, and then add on top of it that this one is just tossed around like an item in the washing machine, but the cross-referencing there is very good. That's very mature. So again, it's a little more, this paragraph's a lot better than this paragraph. So here I'm actually starting to get some marks, and the cross-referencing has been solid. So you can see in each paragraph we mentioned source 2 and then source 3, and here we've mentioned source 2 and then source 3. So we're cross-referencing all the way through, tennising between them, and it's a bit stronger. The language use differs in both extracts heavily. So here I've talked about similarities. Now I'm looking at the difference, apparently. The language use differs in both extracts heavily. The language in source 2 is generally quite humorous. The pun in the headline prepares us for that, and the image of Mr. Trapp arriving in a cabbage field before the French police adds a humorous element to the situation, especially as he's described as he's described simply as unexpected rather than anything more sinister. So that's a fair enough analysis of the style of the writing and how the language is used to do that. Obviously the reference to the cabbage field, because they've just been used in particular. You could have just said landed in France, but then obviously we've got this kind of Keystone Cops moment where we've got the idea of the French police just being bemused by this almost. Though an attempt at humour can be taken from source 3's reference to being flung around like a washing machine, which gives us a homely, silly image, the humour is taken out of the situation that she is in, and is probably only the power of hindsight that allows her to describe it in such a way. The rest of the language of the passage is far more attuned to that of a perilous situation. So that's well put, because I've said that the language actually differs heavily, and then although I pick out an attempted humorous thing in number 3, I'm just saying that it seems that way. So that's quite perceptive. I'm saying it seems that way with hindsight, but in the actual writing of the experience it's not. So again, maybe I'm scraping the bottom of this band here with that. There is a stark contrast in the way language is used to discuss the technicalities of the trip. Source 3 refers specifically to the items on the ship that are essential for travel, such as the mast, the hull and the sails. This casts Frances as an authority figure who knows her ship and all its parts and is able to manage them, while Mr. Trapp is referred to as simply having a dozen balloons filled with helium and a chair, making out to be some kind of maverick eccentric, when we can be sure that he had guiding devices, radio contact and other things to methodically reduce the risks. Okay, so good cross-referencing again within the article. Very clear point made about the authority figure, and that she knows her ship and is able to manage them. So that's a little more stretched than developed. So this is actually getting better as it goes on. So the first two, I'm just looking at it now. The first two maybe we could do without, and we're still very strong. I wouldn't actually say very strong. There's no way this is up the 15, 16 mark. It might be touching upon the 13. I feel quite bad if I told you this was an A and it didn't touch upon the 13. I think it's definitely enough for a 13. Obviously the examiner will comment on it a little further, a little more technically, it's in the 13 range. It's not amazing, but it should be a solid A, or at least it should definitely be in a band 4. When we can be sure that he has guiding devices, radio contact, the effect here is to create a spontaneous and light-hearted piece to wonder at, while the technical reference in source 3 add more seriousness to the situation. So that's well summed up. It's the comparison. Let's have a look at it. So does it offer a full, detailed understanding of the text in relation to your language? Well, let's see. So here we've got the idea that we're both describing journeys, the idea that they're both dramatic. We've got warm evocative language in 1, and we've got evocative language again in the 2nd, and we've got the things picked out. We've got the idea of it being a powerful scene and cross-referencing. Here there's lots of different parts of the sources that are actually pulled out and referenced, and there's different ideas coming through, where it was humorous, where it was where it was technical, where it was not technical, where it was dramatic, where it was evocative, and there's similarities and differences. So I would say that was as close to full as needs to be for getting this. And I analyse how the writers have used language differently. Yep, we've definitely looked at that. Offers appropriate quotations and references. Yeah, that's done really well, with perceptive comments. Some of them are, some of them aren't, but remember, you only have to do it a couple of times to prove you can do it. So that should be okay. Focus on comparison and cross-referencing between the text. Yeah, that's probably the strongest point of this. that's probably, if you were going to just mark them individually, that's probably one of the where it gets full marks, for doing that. But there could probably be a little bit more about effects. Like I've said in a couple of paragraphs we've pulled out here, and not really kind of put and, just kind of mention one or two things. But I think on the balance, it's definitely still in there. But yeah, we look forward to the next examiner's comments on that, and head of English as well. So it will be really, really worth listening to, because the more experience people have in this, I've been teaching 5-6 years, the other person's been teaching, like 15-20 years. They're going to have seen a lot more, etc., etc. So they're going to be able to give you a lot more experience. So please, please, please do pay attention to them, because they'll probably be a lot more valuable than what I'm saying to you. So to sum up then, and actually look at how many marks this might have got, I think for the first one, yeah, definitely would have got a 7 out of 8. The second one, I think that was even, that would probably got a 7 out of 8. The third one was 8. The third one was that's the one where I went a little over, if you watch the third answer. So that would have got 8 out of 8. And this one, let's say it's 13. So 13 plus 8 would give us 21, plus 14 would give us 35. So 35 doubled, we'd be looking at 70. So that would be a star if I did just as well in the writing. So anything I'm doing here, I'm actually presuming I'm doing as well in the writing. So yeah, that should be sound A grade advice. We'll get the ones from AQA as well and do them as well. And what I'm going to do in the next series of videos is show you a comparison of an A and a C, so you can see what the difference was, side by side, and it will save you comparing it any other way. Hope that was useful.